Hey guys, we are back with Siraya from Stay at Home Zookeeper this time. If you have a question for her, just drop it in the comment box in the Facebook group, and we will get to those as they pop up. Siraya, thank you so much for joining Brett and I today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you do with your Instagram page and your website and how you sort of got started doing that?
Sure. So it started as the whole website started as a journal, basically. My father lives 900 miles from us. So I started putting things online so I didn't have to explain everything to everyone all the time. My son was going through an autism diagnosis. So it was kind of a way for me to just tell everyone what was going on and say it once and kind of be done with it. And if they had questions or comments, they could all come in. And then I started to really find a community in that. So I started talking to other moms going through something similar and really started finding that community. And I was like, I actually have something to contribute to society of my feelings and how I get through all of this. And kind of grew it from there. I started doing weekly series on my page. I do Mom Method on Monday, Tuesdays tips, Wednesdays where it goes, and Thursdays things. And it's basically just each day I talk about something of how I do something or why I do something, a little tip or trick I've learned along the way. Wednesday is my organizational day. So it's kind of like a how I organize this spot. And then Thursdays are like favorite things that just I love for various reasons, whether it's supportive to my son's autism, it's supportive to organizing, or I just really love this, anything from patio furniture to reusable water balloons and things like that. So it's basically out there to build a community between, I say moms, but I mean parents, because I know there's a lot of dads also trying to help navigate the craziness that is having children. But it's to help parents just feel like they're in a community, and however they're doing it, they're not doing it wrong. This might be a source of information to visit, but I am not by any means saying I am the only way to do it. It's just if you're searching for something and you're searching for a community where you are not wrong for just trying your best, here's kind of where you can come.
Yeah, awesome. Like here are some things that work for us. You can take it or leave it, whatever
Yes.
works for you or doesn't. So we have a long partnership with Siraya, so I'm very familiar with her story. And I know with your son who has autism, for him, it's very important, not just for him to be organized, but for your whole family to be organized, to support him as best as you can. Mm-hmm. We go over a little bit with the sort of the highlights of your drop zones presentation?
Yes. So it started for him is really how it all originated. I was going crazy with where are your shoes? He's nonverbal. He can't tell me where his shoes are. So it's like, where are your shoes? Where's your backpack? And he couldn't tell me where any of these things were. So before we'd leave out the door every morning, it was like you find the blue headphones, you find the shoes, you find the backpack, I'll stuff his lunch. And it was just mass chaos. And then we started doing teaching him, your shoes go in this box. This box has your name on it. We color code our kids, so it's written in blue. This is your shoes. And it took a while, but he first started going to where the box was. When I said, go get your shoes, he'd at least go stand by it. And now he walks in the door, he takes off his shoes, he puts them in the box, and he runs away. But then there's never where are your shoes? And so he's my oldest. My daughter is only 21 months younger than him. So basically they were two peas in a pod. If he's learning it, I want to learn it too. So she caught on very quickly, went right with him. And then our youngest just wants to be like a sibling. So he's very good at following along. And it was great for shoes. It was great for coats. And then they all started school. And then it turned into all the papers. And as mentioned, my son has autism. So there's an IEP, there's medical paperwork. We have 4 specialty doctors. There's a lot of papers everywhere. And so I knew I had to take it kind of up a notch. And now they know where to put all their stuff. I needed drop zones for where everything went. So now they empty their whole backpacks into their backpack content drop zone, which is right next to where their backpacks and shoes are. And then I take that out one kid at a time, sort it all into its drop zones, and then put it like only keep what I have to. That was one of the biggest things, is only drop the things you need to keep in the keep zones. And one of the drop zones is recycling. Like you look at it, it's noted. You don't need every worksheet. You don't need every art project. One of my drop zones is the recycling. And that is the first one. You weed that out and then you decide, keeping and things like that. And that helped reduce the paperwork. It helped reduce the, why is this paper on the island? Like we try to skip that whole step. It's from their drop zone to my drop zone. It's taken care of. The paper is gone, but you always know where to find it. And then we do a weekly reset on my One Thrive board here. And so every Sunday before the week starts, I go through the file folder. And if it's for that week, I pin up, like it's a field trip form. I pin it right up on the cork board. And then I write trip in my kids' color. So an example I did in the video was Stella was going to the zoo. I just write zoo in pink. And then we both, my husband and I, know what kid that means and where they're going. But then we can look at the field trip form and go, oh yeah, they need sunscreen before they go. And you can see that form. And then the trip is done. That is recycled as well, so that it clears off that cork board. So only if you need to know about it does it make it to the cork board.
Yeah. We have a kind of similar system with the One Thrive too. We also reset on Sundays, sort of like my weekly board, here's the schedule this week, but there's so much paperwork from the kids' school. And you have 3 kids, right? So yes. It's like each of their folders, it's like, they did this worksheet and they have this field trip form to sign and like this, t-shirt form to fill and like, they're bringing this. So it's very similar. We throw in the recycling right away. What I get away with. Sometimes they're like, oh no, I really want to keep this I drew with some crayons for 1 second behind a worksheet. And I'm like, okay, we can keep it for the week, kind of like, okay, we'll put it up on the board for the week. That's going to be like our artwork for the week. And then I have folders by their names, like sort of for each kid. I just put the folders there, unless it's like return this tomorrow. And then same thing, we just kind of go over it on the weekend. And then that really reduces. That's, I love that One Thrives have that file holder because it actually, at first I just threw mail in there and I realized, oh, it actually holds files.
It holds files, yeah.
So then I have one file for each of their names and I have a second file holder because I absolutely love those for our mail too. And we drop our mail in there and I found that I get like kind of overwhelmed with mail because I live like so many people do, like mostly electronically, and then like having to actually do the mail and open things is like, oh, I have to do this. So I have holder files for that too, which has been helpful because it's like, here's bills, here's like letters from family, here's like financial stuff. So then when I'm like, oh my God, I have to go through the mail, like I have to check on the bills, then I know, okay, I'll just pull out the bill folder and it's not like overwhelming. I don't have to look at like 20 pieces of mail. There's just like the 3 bills in there. What advice would you have for drop zones for people that have maybe like a small space or space that doesn't have like, a very like a designated sort of like, some people are lucky and they have like mud rooms or like a very like, like a closet in front. Not everyone does. Some people's houses you open and boom, you're like in the house.
Yes.
Do you have recommendations for building drop zones in homes?
I do. Yes. So that's one of the biggest things I get is like, well, I don't have the space for that, so I can't do that. And the biggest thing I try to point out is that a drop zone is literally a zone. It doesn't have to be a drop box. It doesn't have to be a drop file. It just has to be a zone, something that's supposed to go where it's supposed to go every time. So shoes can be on a doormat. You can have a doormat on the floor. You can put your shoes on it. If you want to take it as far as maybe colored duct tape, if you want, like you put yours on the pink dot, you put yours on the blue dot, things like that, where if you want it more defined that way. It could be on the counter. I'll show you here. I have Post-it notes. So when my kids finish eating, they put their plate on, we call it put your plate on your letter, so that if they want to come back, they know where their food is, but the dogs couldn't reach it. So here on my counter, I just took a piece of Post-it note in their color and I put just tape over it. So it's kind of laminated to my counter and they just put that. So if that is your drop zone, maybe they have to put it on the Post-it note with their, that's where your paperwork goes. Maybe that, even tape off a box, it goes in this spot. So you can make a zone in any place you are. It's just deciding where is the zone, teaching that is the zone, and then practicing that it's the zone and using that language of that's not where your papers go, it's not in the zone, or things like that. And I think one of the biggest things is the teaching. Yeah. I can set all this up in my house. If I don't teach my kids how to use it, they're not going to do it. So I think one of the biggest things also is once you establish what your zone is, the floor mat, the sticker, the whatever it is, you have to literally say, okay, so when we come home and you take off your shoes, you need to put it on this pink dot. And then you need to take your papers and you need to go put it on this pink dot. And they're not going to know it unless you teach it. And you're going to have to practice it because they're children and they don't learn anything the first time you teach them. So I did a video on my page of my son doing the drop zones. And this is his third year with this drop zone. And it's still like, you know where your shoes go. And he then put them in there. So, 3 years in, we're still having to do the reminders, but it's all that is a verbal reminder because they do know the process because they've been taught the process.
Yeah. That can be so hard sometimes when you're, I know sometimes I'm walking in my house from picking them up at the school, but I'm technically like on a phone call with clients or like I'm, trying to like send an email. So in the meanwhile, before I have a chance to remind them, they're like running into the TV. But yeah, I think it's really important to like sort of focus that time and be like, this goes here, this goes there, this goes there. And I know sometimes we get in that routine and then they get really good about it. But as soon as I sort of take my eye off, it kind of starts falling apart.
Well, the setup and the discipline that you're teaching, Siraya, is really important in the beginning. It takes a lot of work sort of up front, or not even a lot of work, just some work up front, but that work will pay dividends over time. As you're saying, if you teach them early in the year, then for years to come, they're going to know where that spot is. And although it seems, for some people may be overwhelming, if you just start and you take those small steps, then it will pay off in the long run.
And start small. Like if it's just the shoes that are driving you nuts, start with a shoe zone and deal with the backpacks maybe later. And once we learn how to choose, okay, now you know how you put your shoes on the pink dot. Let's say we have a pink dot for your papers now. And just kind of like build on that too. Because it's a lot for their little brains to do a lot in one day. But everything is baby steps and teaching each baby step along the way.
No, and that's to me like the most important thing out of like all the drop zones. The kids getting home from school is like the most important thing because otherwise things go crazy. Like if you come home, put your shoes there, hang your backpack there, put your lunchbox and water bottle in the kitchen, and like let's get to all that school stuff. Because if we don't do that right away, the next morning I'm like, where's the water bottle? Where's your water bottle? Or like where? Oh my God, you had a homework that I didn't even see.
Yep.
So it's like kind of annoying to walk in and take this time. The kids are tired. They just want to like go lay in the couch or like have a snack, but to take that time to do that. And one thing that Carly was talking about earlier was sort of having very like loose routines. So like, sort of like these blocks, she doesn't even have time, just the name of like what we're doing. And I think those two things work well together. So like if you have one block that's like, I don't know what you'd call it, but like sort of like drop zone time or something. And it's like, guys, this is what we're doing now before we, eat our snack or do our homework or relax. We're taking these 15 minutes to put the shoes away, put the backpacks away, put everything where it belongs. And I think these ideas you guys are bringing are so important to like start thinking about these systems before school even starts.
And that's another thing is I don't change my systems when we're not in school. So when they are in summer sports, their water bottle still goes in their drop box. I still fill their water bottle when it's in the drop zone, and that stays consistent. Your water bottle goes in your drop box when you get home, and that language stays consistent. Shoes, the shoe box is the same. We don't have boots in the summer, but you still have to put your shoes in the shoe box. And like our raincoat hangs instead of our snow coat, but you still have to hang your stuff in your spot. Your activity bag still goes on its library bag instead of backpack in the school, summer in school. So we try to keep that consistent so then it's not totally foreign at the beginning of the school year either. And another thing I keep had in the presentation is there's no too young age to start doing this. Where you're going to have backpacks when they're in school can be where you keep the diaper bag before you go to daycare or before you leave the house. And it makes sense to have their shoes in the exact same spot, even when they're an infant or toddler through when they are in elementary school. So you can say, we're going to put your shoes in your shoe box, and you have that conversation with a 1-year-old. By 18 months, my kid could pick up his shoes and go throw them in the box because that's what we always do. So, I mean, there is no too young to do it. It doesn't have to be for school. And then those zones just make sense when they are in school. So now my son's going into 4K and he's like, sure, yeah, shoes go in the box. So when I say go get ready for school, he already knows where that is. I didn't have to teach it now. I have to teach that the whole process happens when he comes home from school.
Right.
But he knows the building blocks of it already because we did it when he was an
Well,
infant.
they like it. You've kind of gamified it for them a little bit. Like
Yes.
it's like, okay, guys, this is what you're going to do. And it's just, you teach people a process. People like that discipline and knowing what to do for sure.
Yeah, one thing I thought was really simple but brilliant in your presentation is having like that Dropbox for those things. Because right now, like for me, I'm just like, excuse me, sorry. No one wants to be with mom right now. Yes. Daddy is helping out, taking her to another. One thing that I really like is like, okay, everyone put like everything I need to deal with. So like the water bottles, the lunch boxes, maybe like your gym uniform here. So then I can deal with it. Because if a lot of times I'm like, go put it on the counter or like in the kitchen, someone's putting it on the, sink and someone's putting it, on top of the island. And then it's like, okay, I have to go around gathering all these things anyways. So I like that idea of like, okay, it all goes here. Now I can go and deal with it. At least at the age they're at now. As they get older, maybe they can like deal with it more. But right now my kids are 9, 7, and 5.
Yep.
And I like that idea of them being, then it like sort of cuts down on like, it makes the responsibility really clear. Here's the box, put all your stuff in there.
And we reverse it. So when I fill the water bottle, I'm going to put it in that basket. So every day when they get up in the morning, they have to just put that whole basket, scoop it up, put it in their backpack. So there's that mutual too, where if I sign a permission slip, it's going to be in the basket.
Yeah.
There's no where did I put that? Where when I refilled your water bottle, where did I put it? I put it in the basket so you can pick up the basket and put it in your backpack.
Right.
And they kind of have that mutual trust then. I trust you emptied your backpack. They trust I refilled everything and put it in their basket. So even when we do the nightly check-in, like, okay, we're going to have, other than like school dress up days, but if it's like we need to bring a flashlight for reading under a blanket day, it's already in their basket. So they just have to grab that whole thing and go. And that's just, it's a very mutual relationship between the two of us as well.
Yeah.
It's a relaxing thing. It's less stressful for you knowing like, okay, I want just like your kids, I have one place to put everything. And so it's taken care of. Okay, check. I did those things. Okay, my job is done. And now, they're not out looking in different places, which can lead to in the mornings or even for you, that stress of just kind of not knowing I got to do some things. I'm not sure if they're done, so on and so forth.
Yeah, and our bus time, we have to leave our house at 6:52 a.m. to make the bus on time. So brains are not functioning in the morning. No. So we do as much loaded at night as possible. So it's literally before everyone goes to bed, did you put everything in your Dropbox? Because none of our brains are functioning fully at 6:50 in the morning.
Yeah, and I've definitely because we don't have that and I'm kind of scatterbrained, I've definitely missed putting a lunch in a bag because there's some days I put it in the bag and some days I'm put it in the bag. So because there's not that system you're talking about where it's everyone's here, you guys are responsible for grabbing it. I will come home and I'm oh my God, here's Allie's lunch and now I have to run to the school and drop it off. So I think having that very clear division of labor, I put it in the basket, you get it from the basket. That's where it's going to be every day. That's where you get it from every day is just really simple, but so smart and efficient. Someone says they're already very organized and I love the concept because it challenges her to rethink the efficacy of her current system. I think that makes a lot of sense. That is so efficient what you're saying. I think I'm going to incorporate it myself.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that makes total sense. You put your shoes in the same spot every day. But to actually have I have a designated zone for it. This is where it belongs. And then that you're teaching that and then even putting it to a picture schedule or something like that. I mean, my kids' picture schedules are a picture of the area, but it's also with it done correctly. So then they can kind of do that self-check thing too. So the backpack, I mean, it's not just a picture of my mudroom. It's a picture of my mudroom with everybody's backpack on the correct hook. Everybody's it's hanging nicely. Everything's where it belongs. So they can do a self-check too. And it's literally a picture of that. It's not a picture, a random clip art. This is what it should look like. And they're got it. Yep, we know. And I'll even call them back sometimes, like, I'm sorry, does this match? And they're like, no. And they know. And I mean, as young as 3, my son knows it doesn't match.
Right.
Yeah.
And it gives them that independence. For me, I had taught 4K prior to staying home. So I had 21 4-year-olds in my room at one time. So I know at a young age they can learn the routines, but I also know they can't read yet. And that as a teacher, the more they can do independently, the less I need to support those skills, and we can work on other skills. So even things like working on social skills and all of that, I can do when I'm not putting everyone's folder in the basket all morning long.
Right.
So I really push my children to have that independence, age appropriate, because then when they go to school, their teacher's like, phew, I don't have to teach you where your folder goes. I will teach you how to start adding then.
Right.
Like it takes that labor off of them. And I know how much I appreciated students coming with independence. And if they don't, they need to be taught. That's obviously where you meet them at. But if the whole class is ready to go, the whole class gets to move on to something new. And that really drove me to be like, you guys are going to know how to put on your coat, put your coat away, responsibility, and that you are responsible. It is your coat, your shoes, your job. Then we can move on to doing all the fun things and the working together things and the things outside of that.
Yeah, someone just mentioned exactly what you're talking about, that this is, taking some of that onus off of you and putting it on them, because they should be responsible. It's their stuff, and you're teaching them really important skills. How to be like self-sufficient, take care of things yourself, be part of the family, and then, grow up and be good partners in the future for their own families. So that's really great.
We get that a lot at home. I didn't take that toy out. I go, you know what? I didn't use this pink water bottle, and I still seem to have to clean it and fill it and put it back. So maybe we can contribute to the family a little bit, because it's not mine and I still do it. Fine.
Right.
So
No.
it's teaching, like, we contribute, even if it's not, yes, you're responsible for your own things, but also we all help each other in our things outside of ourselves. And
yeah, we struggle with that one. I didn't take that toy out though. It's like, just,
Right.
Help a mama out.
No, you have to foster a team environment, and that's the way you build sort of long-standing relationships and a strong family, is by building, everybody will help each other, and that's kind of the way it is. And these are as sort of not silly, but as small as these things seem, they're the building blocks for what ties everybody together.
Absolutely.
Siraya, thank you so much for your time. I know we went a little bit over, but there's just like so much here with the drop zones. I think they're so important, and something we're constantly working on. And between you and Carla, you guys have my brain going now. I'm like, I should, on my OneDrive, write what those things are they need to do. So if they forget, they're like, okay, my backpack, my water bottle, my shoes.
We lost you. Your sound went out, Anna. We lost your sound, Anna.
I muted myself. Do you limit the number of shoes they can have, like by the front door, or like?
I think that's
volume.
So ours is the box. Once they don't fit in their shoe box, that's all we get. But that's every shoe we own. Shoes belong in their box, and then the exception of snow boots go on the mat. So yes and no. If they, like, my son only wears 2 pairs of shoes. He's got his dress shoes and his everyday shoes, and he's good with that. My daughter is a shoe fanatic like me, and I'm like, as long as they fit in the box, I do not care. So with the exception, like, her dance shoes are in the dance bag and things like that. So we don't take extracurriculars into that. But yeah, as long as they fit in the box. So
the box sets the limit of how many shoes you can have.
And I think that comes down to your zone. So if your zone is a shoe rack, maybe it's you get a top shelf and a bottom shelf, or maybe it's what you can fit on your doormat or things like that. That is where space is kind of trickier.
Okay.
But as long as it's in your zone, that's what we feel comfortable with. And that's part of the zoning too, is like setting limits. You only get what fits in the zone.
Right.
Okay. So after the presentation, we will post in the group a link to get Siraya's freebie. We will also send out an email. If you're signed up for the summit, you will get an email with her and Carly's link as well. Soraya, tell everyone where they can find you if they want, some more of this awesome advice.
Sure. On Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, I am a stay-at-home zookeeper. Working on YouTube Shorts. I haven't quite gotten that one under my belt yet. And then I have stayatHomeZookeeper.blog, has all of the links and some blog posts more in detail and things like that. But most active with stories and things like that on Instagram.
All right. Thank you so much.
I also want to thank you for your support of One Thrive, and we really appreciate it. And you're always out there telling people about it, and certainly with the autism community, we are always want to help any way we can. So thank you. Your support means the world to us.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.